Let me introduce myself. My name is Claire Harper, and I'm the kind of person who blends into the background unless someone really looks closely, or unless they have a reason to notice me. Right now, everyone at Crestwood Innovations has a reason, though not for the reasons you might think. You see, today was supposed to be my night. The company Gala, an event that's more about power plays than punch bowls, was happening downtown in one of those glass towers where everything sparkles just a little too much. It's where deals are made under crystal chandeliers, secrets whispered behind potted palms, and careers either ascend or crumble based on who you talk to during dessert. I didn't get invited. Not because I wasn't qualified. I've worked here for 6 years, clawed my way up from entry-level grunt work to senior project manager. But because I pissed off the wrong people. Well, wrong depends on how you look at it. From their perspective, I crossed a line. From mine, they had it coming. But let's back up a bit. This story doesn't start with tonight's drama. It starts months ago when things were still normal, or as normal as they ever could be at Crestwood. Crestwood Innovations isn't your typical corporate behemoth. We're sleeker, smarter, and far more cutthroat. Our CEO, Marcus Langley, likes to call us the future of business. But what he means is we're ruthless. Everyone here knows the rules. Stay ahead, don't ask questions, and never rock the boat. And yet, sometimes boats need rocking. Sometimes the truth needs air, no matter how ugly it is. That's where I came in. It all began with a project, a big one. Codenamed Eclipse. It promised to revolutionize cloud storage solutions. Big words, bigger stakes. If successful, it would secure Crestwood's dominance in the tech world for another decade. Naturally, everyone wanted a piece of it, including me. I had spent countless late nights poring over spreadsheets, coordinating teams, and troubleshooting code glitches. My team and I poured our hearts into making Eclipse shine. So imagine my surprise when, 2 weeks before launch, I found out someone else's name was attached to the project. Someone higher up. Someone who hadn't done any of the actual work. At first, I tried to brush it off. Maybe there'd been some misunderstanding. Maybe I'd missed an email chain. But deep down, I knew better. When I confronted my boss, Rachel Monroe, she gave me that patronizing smile she reserves for moments like this. The ones where she thinks she can placate me without actually addressing the issue. "Claire," she said, leaning back in her leather chair like she owned the damn thing, which technically she did. You know how these things go. Senior leadership wants visibility on projects this size. It's not personal. Not personal. Right. Because stealing credit for someone else's hard work is totally impersonal. That moment stuck with me. Not just because it stung, it burned, but because it felt like a pattern. Over the years, I'd seen it happen again and again. Talented employees pushed aside while executives took the glory. People talked about it in hushed tones over coffee breaks, but no one dared say anything louder. No one wanted to risk losing their jobs. Or worse, becoming pariahs within the company. So we all kept quiet, until I decided I couldn't anymore. The turning point came a few weeks later, when I accidentally stumbled across something I wasn't supposed to see. Late one night, after most of the office had cleared out, I stayed behind to finish reviewing some documents for another project. As I scrolled through files on the shared drive, I noticed something odd, a folder labeled confidential. Normally, such folders were locked down tight, accessible only to upper management. But somehow permissions had slipped, and there it was, sitting right in front of me. Curiosity got the better part of me. I clicked. What I found inside made my blood run cold. Emails, memos, financial reports, all detailing shady dealings that went far beyond Eclipse. There were bribes paid to regulators, kickbacks funneled through shell companies, even evidence of embezzlement disguised as consulting fees. Worst of all, these weren't isolated incidents. They were systemic, woven into the very fabric of Crestwood's operations. The company I devoted years of my life to wasn't just unethical, it was criminal. Part of me wanted to shut the laptop immediately and pretend I'd never seen it. Ignorance is bliss, after all. But another part, the part that refused to stay silent anymore, knew I couldn't let this slide. If I did nothing, it would eat away at me until there was nothing left. Worse, it meant letting them win. Letting them continue to exploit and deceive without consequence. So I started gathering evidence. Carefully, methodically. Every document, every email, every incriminating detail. I copied it onto an external hard drive hidden in my desk drawer. At home, I uploaded everything to a secure server, encrypting it so thoroughly that even the FBI would struggle to crack it, just in case. Of course, paranoia set in pretty quickly. I became hyper-aware of every move I made, every conversation I had. Did Rachel suspect something when I asked for clarification on certain budget discrepancies? Was Marcus watching me more closely during meetings? I started taking different routes to work, avoiding colleagues outside the office, even covering my webcam with tape. Paranoia is exhausting, but so is knowing you're sitting on a ticking time bomb. Then came the invitation, or rather, the lack thereof. Word spread around the office that the annual Gala guest list had been finalized. Employees buzzed with excitement, swapping stories about past galas and speculating about this year's theme. For once, I thought I might actually make the cut. After all, I'd earned it. But when the official invites went out, my inbox remained conspicuously empty. Rachel called me into her office the next day. Her tone was clipped, almost apologetic, though her eyes betrayed satisfaction. "We've decided to keep the guest list exclusive this year," she explained. "Only senior leadership and key contributors." Translation: people who hadn't rocked the boat. People who played by the rules. People who weren't me. The rejection stung, sure, but it also fueled me. Fine, they didn't want me at their precious party. Let them sip champagne and pat each other on the back while pretending nothing was wrong. Meanwhile, I had something far more satisfying planned. Tonight, as Crestwood's elite mingled beneath glittering lights, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my phone. On the screen was a draft email addressed to every major news outlet, regulatory agency, and whistleblower hotline I could think of. Attached was a zip file containing everything I'd collected: the emails, the memos, the damning financial records. All it would take was one tap of the send button, and the carefully constructed facade of Crestwood Innovations would come crashing down. But I hesitated. Not because I doubted myself, I knew what I was doing was right, but because I understood the gravity of it. Once I hit send, there would be no going back. Careers would end, reputations would shatter, lives would change forever, including mine. Still, as I watched live streams of the gala unfold online, seeing faces I recognized laughing and clinking glasses, I felt a strange sense of peace settle over me. They thought they could silence me. They thought they could push me aside and carry on as if nothing mattered except their own greed. But they were wrong. Tonight, I would prove just how wrong they were. And then, with a deep breath, I hovered my finger over the screen. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing like a drum roll leading up to the crescendo of what I was about to do. The live stream on my laptop showed Marcus Langley raising a glass and a toast, his smug grin illuminated by the golden glow of the chandeliers. Rachel stood beside him, her polished smile hiding years of manipulation and deceit. They were celebrating their empire, their untouchable kingdom, blissfully unaware that I was about to tear it all apart. I glanced at the clock. It was 9:15 p.m. In 15 minutes, dessert would be served, chocolate fondant with gold leaf flakes, because even decadence needed branding, and the real networking would begin. Deals would be struck, alliances forged, reputations burnished. All while I sat here, ready to pull the rug out from under them. But still my finger hovered. What if this destroyed more than just Crestwood? What if innocent people got caught in the fallout? Employees who'd worked hard, played by the rules, believed in the company's mission, even if that mission was built on lies. Would they lose their jobs, their savings, their futures? And what about me? Once I hit send, I'd become public enemy number one. No tech firm would hire someone labeled a traitor. My career might as well be over before it truly began. Yet, despite these doubts, one truth anchored me. Silence wasn't an option. Silence had allowed this corruption to fester. Silence had let them steal credit for Eclipse, bribe regulators, and line their pockets with stolen money. If I stayed quiet now, I'd become complicit. Worse, I'd lose myself, the part of me that cared about justice, integrity, fairness. So I typed one last thing into the email draft. To whom it may concern, attached as evidence of systemic fraud, corruption, and illegal activities within Crestwood Innovations. This information has been verified and encrypted to ensure authenticity. Please act accordingly. Then, without giving myself time to second-guess, I pressed send. For a moment, nothing happened. Just the soft hum of my laptop fan and the distant murmur of city traffic outside my window. Then came the notification. A cascade of delivery receipts, pinging across my screen. Email after email confirmed receipt. CNN, the New York Times, the SEC, the DOJ anonymous whistleblower platforms. Each ping felt like a domino falling, setting off a chain reaction that couldn't be stopped. And then, silence again. I exhaled sharply, realizing I hadn't breathed through the entire process. My hands trembled as I set the phone down, staring blankly at the live stream. For a fleeting second, I wondered if anything would actually happen. Maybe no one would open the attachments. Maybe they'd dismiss it as spam or some prankster's fabrication. But deep down, I knew better. The evidence was undeniable. The story too explosive to ignore. As if on cue, the first sign of disruption appeared. Marcus paused mid-sentence during his speech. He frowned slightly, glancing toward the back of the room where a server whispered urgently into Rachel's ear. She stiffened visibly, her champagne flute frozen halfway to her lips. Whispers rippled through the crowd like wind rustling leaves. Someone near the stage checked their phone, then quickly turned pale. The camera feed shifted erratically, capturing snippets of confusion. A woman gasped audibly. Another man bolted toward the exit, abandoning his seat. Security guards moved discreetly along the perimeter, scanning the room as though expecting trouble. Whatever bombshell had dropped, it was already spreading like wildfire. Back in my apartment, I leaned forward, gripping the edge of my desk. My pulse raced, but not from fear anymore, from exhilaration. This was it, the reckoning I'd dreamed of. Every lie, every betrayal, every injustice, they were finally being exposed. And I was the one pulling the strings. Rachel grabbed Marcus's arm, urgency etched across her face. Whatever news she delivered made him visibly blanch. His confident demeanor cracked, revealing the fragile ego beneath. He snapped orders at nearby staff, who scrambled to comply. Phones buzzed incessantly throughout the ballroom, lighting up tables like fireflies in the dark. On the live stream, a reporter appeared on screen, breaking into the gala coverage with breaking news alerts. Words flashed across the bottom of the screen. Crestwood Innovations implicated in multi-million-dollar bribery scandal. My stomach churned. Part of me wanted to turn away, to shield myself from the inevitable chaos. But another part, the same part that refused to stay silent, forced me to watch. This was my doing, my responsibility. I owed it to myself to see it through. As the evening unraveled further, details poured in. Reporters camped outside the venue, shoving microphones toward panicked attendees fleeing the scene. Lawyers arrived en masse, briefcases in hand, whispering frantically to executives trying to salvage whatever scraps of dignity remained. Crestwood's stock price plummeted in real time, flashing red alerts on financial news channels. Twitter erupted with hashtags like #CrestwoodScandal and #CorporateGreedExposed, amplifying the outrage. But amidst the spectacle, something unexpected happened. Messages started flooding my phone. Friends, colleagues, former coworkers, all reaching out to thank me. Some sent cryptic texts, urging caution, "Be careful, Claire." Others offered support, promising to stand by me no matter what. One message stood out. "You did the right thing. We've been waiting for someone brave enough to take them down." It came from Daniel, a former teammate who'd left Crestwood months ago after clashing with Rachel. Seeing his words brought tears to my eyes, not because I craved validation, but because it reminded me I wasn't alone. There were others who saw the rot festering beneath the surface, who longed for change but lacked the courage to act. Tonight I gave them hope. Still, as the hours ticked by, reality began to sink in. The adrenaline rush faded, leaving behind a gnawing uncertainty. Yes, I'd taken a stand. Yes, I'd exposed the truth. But at what cost? Crestwood wasn't just a faceless corporation. It was thousands of employees relying on paychecks, pensions, healthcare. Families depending on stability. Could I live with knowing I'd shattered those lives, however indirectly? More pressing was the question of what came next. Hitting send was only the beginning. Tomorrow the world would demand answers. Journalists would hunt for sources. Investigators would dig deeper. And sooner or later they'd find me. How could they not? The evidence trail led straight to my doorstep. I opened a drawer and pulled out the external hard drive containing backup copies of everything. Its weight felt heavier now, a physical reminder of the burden I carried. Should I destroy it? Hide it? Hand it over to authorities? Each choice carried risks, none guaranteed safety. A knock at the door startled me. My heart leapt into my throat. Who could possibly know I was involved already? Had they traced the emails back to me so quickly? Or worse, had someone followed me home? I crept to the peephole, holding my breath. Standing in the hallway was Daniel. His expression was unreadable, equal parts concern and determination. In his hand, he held a duffel bag slung casually over his shoulder. Before I could decide whether to open the door, he spoke softly through the wood. "Claire, I know you're in there. Let me in. We need to talk." For a moment, I hesitated. Trusting anyone right now felt dangerous. But Daniel wasn't just anyone. He'd seen the cracks in Crestwood's foundation long before I did. And judging by the look in his eyes when I finally opened the door, he had a plan. "What are you doing here?" I asked, stepping aside to let him in. He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he placed the duffel bag on my kitchen counter and unzipped it, revealing stacks of documents, USB drives, and a sleek laptop. "I've been gathering evidence too," he admitted. "Not as much as you, obviously, but enough to connect the dots. I figured you'd need reinforcements." Reinforcements. The word hit me like a lifeline thrown into rough waters. Maybe I didn't have to face this alone after all. Daniel pulled up a chair and gestured for me to sit. "Here's the deal," he said, his voice steady. "This isn't over yet. Exposing Crestwood is step 1. Step 2 is making sure the fallout doesn't crush everyone else. That means protecting whistleblowers, supporting affected employees, and holding the guilty accountable without collateral damage." His words sparked a flicker of hope. For the first time since hitting send, I allowed myself to imagine a future beyond tonight. A future where justice wasn't just vengeance, but redemption. But as Daniel outlined his plan, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking straight into a storm. Crestwood wouldn't go down without a fight. Powerful people didn't lose gracefully. They clawed and schemed and retaliated with everything they had. And we were standing squarely in their crosshairs. Whatever happened next, one thing was certain. Our lives would never be the same. As dawn broke, Claire and Daniel finalized their strategy. The world outside was already ablaze with headlines about Crestwood's collapse, but they knew the real battle lay ahead. Powerful enemies would come for them, armed with lawyers, threats, and endless resources. Yet, as they packed up the evidence and prepared to face whatever came next, Claire felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. "They'll try to bury us," Daniel said quietly, gripping her shoulder. "Let them dig," Claire replied, her voice steady. "We'll make sure the truth sees the light." And with that, they stepped out into the chaos, ready to fight, not just for justice, but for a future where silence no longer ruled.